Case of the Mondays, case of the case of the case of the Mondays.
This is why Bill Gates has gotten into the vaccine game. He knows he's got no place to stand in what's it called, technology. You know?
Rather just take over the world.
Right? Everybody needs vaccines. Not everybody needs.
He's like, let me make everyone autistic.
That's the whole master plan behind this. It wasn't killing people with coronavirus. It was getting them to then have to get the vaccine to make them all.
Yeah. He's like, let them be as uncomfortable in social situations as I am.
Yeah. Like, I will make
That's
this
a nerd's revenge.
That's the perfect nerd's revenge. Yeah.
You got a whole world that can't look at each other in the eyes, but everything's in order.
He's going to be the one guy. He's going to be like, I'm the coolest guy in the world now.
Yeah. The game plan is first the vaccines, then he does a book burning of the game.
You mean the game? Are you talking about the fucking how to pick up chicks manual from 2005?
Yeah,
You're talking about the game right now?
We don't need any confident men walking around here.
It's just Billy Gates.
Someone reference the game in 7 years.
We're throwing it back, baby.
And as I pan to my left, it's next to it's right behind me. Behind you mean my Bible, bro?
Well, the book. It looks like a Bible, if you remember.
Yeah, I do remember. I remember seeing it at someone's house.
Christian's got a copy behind each one of those jerseys.
I bought the book, changed my life. All right, I will not have you slander the good book,
buddy. You can't. You could preach all day. I'll know exactly what page you're talking about. I'm a dandy.
This guy's got the game memorized.
Oh,
Kase, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you, dude? I haven't seen you in so long. This is such a pleasure. Thanks for doing this.
No doubt, man. I'm good. Yeah, I was FaceTiming with Kunal not too long ago, and that was great to catch up. We got to do the same. Well, this is it.
This is it. Yeah, we're catching up. This is the catch up, man. But this is great.
Yeah. Just missing comedy, doing a soccer show, and that's been good. I'm glad I can still work. That's kind of one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Lucky ones, bro. You've got fucking screwed. I'm so sorry. We're probably making the same amount of money. I'm doing nothing.
See what I'm saying? Because unemployment's giving people, you get like a hefty paycheck from unemployment. It's like people say like it's not enough, but it's like I'm looking at it like, it's almost like too good.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I feel like I'm a writer for a TV show that's never gonna happen. It's a fantastic feeling.
Yeah, you can sit home with your unemployment money, write a show that's never gonna happen, and be like, I'm a writer for a show.
Yeah, I
get paid for it.
I'm just as productive. Yeah,
it comes as a paycheck comes to my house, and this is the thing I put out. So technically,
I feel bad for people who said like I'm lucky I kept my job is still happening. It's not, bro. You got screwed. All right. A buddy of mine, he was working at a deli, and he was doing that, and he was working 40 hours a week, making the same amount of money I was sitting at home.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a lot of people's stories, though. It's got to be front. That's like the argument, right? With a lot of people, though. They're like, why should I, work, and then you get money when I have to work? And, those other people that can't work, they can't work. So there isn't an option. So, that's the big...
But did it take long for the unemployment claim to go through?
A week.
A week?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, though. I've sucked on Uncle Sam's dick before.
Okay. So all my paperwork was in order.
Yeah. So when I came in, they were like, "Welcome back."
Yeah. They're on a first name basis with you. They're like, "Oh, the old
damn, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, look, roll out the red carpet for the VIP over here."
First of all, it was a dirty rug, and they were like, "Welcome back, deadbeat." And I was like, "Where my money, bitch?"
All right. Well,
no, man, that's the thing. You don't know. Like, you hear people complain about that, and I just get like, it's like that weird, like, you're like, oh, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Yeah,
like,
the answer.
People need the money. Like, my friends would need the money, It's not like they're going to be like, oh, cool, so you have to work. They can't. You're both comfortable. You're pissed.
You want to know what I would say?
You have to work.
Yeah.
Too fucking bad, bro. You know what I mean? I learned to scam the system. You don't think people from the top to the bottom have learned to scam the system in the way it works for them?
That's all
really
the
what it
top,
comes
that's
down
all
to.
the top does anyway. So
Well,
whatever.
what was your scam? Finding a job that was gonna not happen? You know,
Yeah, I
I
guess.
really scammed the system. My vocation is canceled for 5 months. Oh man, what a great scam I have!
Yeah, I'm feeling
Guess
great.
what? I work at Earthlink. God.
Man, Earthlink's
What a
really
good
getting
scam.
hammered
I've been
here.
unemployed
bro.
for 17 years. All right, guys, name other companies that don't exist anymore.
Netscape. Let's go after Netscape.
We used to print phone books. What a good scam I had. I've
This
been
is an
unemployed for 30
anti-Earthlink
years.
podcast.
They downsized by 99.9% at the phone book company.
I actually don't even know what podcast I'm doing. Is this still Case of the Mondays or what's going on?
Welcome to Case of the Mondays, guys. Today we have the very funny two of the funniest men I know, Mr. Kunal Arora
How's
and
it
Mr.
going?
Christian Polanco of the Cooligans. And Kunal just released a half hour on YouTube.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I
If
got
you don't think I'll just edit this out and put this at the beginning.
You're highly mistaken. Yes. Thank you for having me on, even though we've already spoken for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I like to do
Really happy to be
that
here.
soft intro.
Mhm.
I know. So, yeah, man, I really brought you both here to to ask you, why aren't you protesting? You know, why are you taking time out of your day? You know what? Christian's good. He's got the resist banner behind
I've got to go. Look at that. Look at the time. This really started out late, so
Yeah, let me actually, I got to fix this frame.
him.
yeah.
He pulls out the game.
Right.
There you go.
He brings it down, says resist more.
Yeah, I've been wanting
What
to.
if you
but
brought it down and said, don't resist?
As,
Just like, please don't resist. And then above that, it said MAGA.
What if I put on my lock screen and it's just this?
Google image that while me and Christian were having a normal conversation.
This was I actually got this scarf from like a group that started like soccer scarves are like a big thing. People put messages on them. Obviously, they normally just have like the team name, but it was like a socially conscious soccer scarf company, and the back of it actually says "Love trumps hate." So I like the resist over that one.
Love trumps hate. That's like a confusing. I have to think, am I for this? Am I against this?
Because it says "Love Trump" on it, technically. So it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it on the resist side. You're making a good call there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a good, like, when I read things quick, if letters are missing, like, or messed up, my brain just makes it what I think it's supposed to be. And like a lot of times I see.
So you're saying you already have the corona vaccine?
I have the autism already, bro.
Yeah.
I got all the good autism right here, dude. I'm like, bro, it's 100% autistic.
I feel like you're trying to sell it to us.
Yeah, you don't really need to.
You want to get some of this good autism, man? This is like the good grade A autism. This is like the I'm good at math, and you can only tell if you've been talking to me for 10 minutes autism. That's the best kind of autism, really. You're kind of extra smart, and then you're like, no one realizes until like
he got
45 minutes.
He got that time release autism.
Yeah,
that good
release, man. Extended release autism. No, so I saw a shirt that said Donald Trump, but what do the people say? Dump?
Trump.
Like instead of Trump, it says dump,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And then it says like Donald Dump or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just see that and I don't realize it. And I go, oh, this guy likes Trump. Like, and I never, and then I look at it for like a while. I'm like, it says dump. But like, unless I took a real close look, I'd be like, oh, that guy loves Trump. And then I just walk around and think an incorrect amount of people are for Donald Trump.
Yeah, but even to be someone who hates Donald Trump and is gonna wear a shirt that shits on him is also pretty bad. It's pretty ridiculous. You don't need to go that far. Like we get it.
People are
Wow,
insane.
this guy's saying this on the record too. Look at that.
Yo,
Okay.
A shirt.
That's
It's pretty
That's
bad.
a
No,
white
he's
girlfriend
right.
coming through right there. Is
Yo,
what
I
that
had
is.
this theory a long time ago that like when people talk about like the radical left and all this is my theory is basically you can't be too hard. And I have something to back this up. You can't be too hard on racism. You have to let some of it breathe. And I'll tell you why. When I was in college,
Dying to hear this.
I had a professor, right? And I was in this class, and this kid was in the class, and we were talking about something. I don't remember, but he yelled something anti-Semitic, right?
Wait, did we go to the same college?
Which in retrospect was so ridiculous. It was kind of hilarious, honestly, just sitting in class. It was one of those stadium seating classrooms with like 150, 250 kids. And someone, he yelled, "Not if you're a Jew," or something like that. Or like, because the Jews run it or something, whatever it was. Now, do I remember what happened to that kid? I have no idea, but I know he was never allowed in that class again.
Yeah, he's probably in
Right?
politics.
But
that kid was Stephen Miller.
My theory is basically if you have an environment where that's comfortable to say, that guy will say that, and then he'll get kicked out of college. He doesn't get a degree, and he doesn't get a position of power.
Right.
Right. But if you're too hard on people that are racist and like the point where like that guy would know not to say that, then he graduates. Maybe he gets a business degree. Maybe he becomes a CEO of a company, and then he's at a board meeting like, "Hey guys, I got a couple other ideas. I'd like to just."
Yeah.
He got that
It
time.
makes sense.
He got that time release racism.
Exactly.
So not bad.
So what you're saying is that if they weren't too harsh at him about it, but then also like corrected him at the same time.
Yes. Racist jokes need to exist in a society because everyone laughs at them, and then some people laugh at them in like a weird way where you're like, you're fucked up. You know what I mean? Like we're comics. We've all seen people say different shit, and we're just like, we laugh, but we're not like bad people. We're not sitting there being like, I believe that. You laugh at it because it's a funny joke.
I'm going to tell you, when people say racist stuff and the way I laugh almost makes it seem like I'm racist. I'm going to tell you right now. The way I played Cards Against Humanity with a couple friends, and a buddy of mine, this is third round of Cards Against Humanity. He goes, every time the sentence comes out to be slightly racist, you laugh extra hard. I put my cards down. It's like, I got to go to the bathroom.
I mean, I feel like what you're not arguing for, but what you're saying is just like, it's more about like, they shouldn't be immediately canceled, because because
you're canceling normal people sometimes.
That's true. I mean, look, and I think there's a difference between, a comic telling a joke and then, this classmate who yells something anti-Semitic, like, the punishment has to be severe, really, to kind of send the message to everyone else. Like, frankly, I don't, who cares?
You got an Econ 101.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yeah. Look,
the guy wasn't in there anymore. I didn't see him for the rest of the semester. Now, could someone who said something anti-Semitic be the type of person that would randomly just walk into an Econ 101 class and say something against Jewish people? Very likely. It's very possible.
Absolutely.
It's not unlikely.
You never audit a class and then say something racist so you can leave?
No.
Well, this is like with everything going on, it makes me think about like I went to Germany a couple months ago, and being in Germany and being around, I did a bus tour around Frankfurt, and it was fascinating because what I know about Germany is what I learned through American history, World War II movies, they're evil, Nazis, and their history and the whole thing. And then I get there, everyone's super nice. And then also you're wondering, like, you don't hear jokes about Nazis or anything like that because that shit ain't allowed. You cannot joke about Nazi stuff. You cannot, like, nothing. Like for any public anything, it is straight up punishment. There's a real penalty.
For what? Like joking about being a Nazi or Nazi ideals, you mean?
I don't know. I don't know what the exact penalty is, but nobody talks about it. So something will I wasn't in Germany long enough to know what, and I wasn't out like making Nazi jokes. I knew not to do that, but it's a thing in the culture that they're embarrassed about their history. They embrace it. They're like, that was shitty. Yeah, that was a different time. Those were different people, but we did that. And we have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, most of them are like, that was my dad. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, but it's a thing that the U.S. hasn't done.
When were you in Germany?
I was in Germany in October.
So I'm gonna tell you this. I was in Australia in 2006, right? And I'm out one night drinking, and I run into this German chick, and like we start, talking, all this stuff, flirting, the whole thing. And I'm like, yo, this is going really well. And then I cracked like a small like Nazi joke, right? Dunzo. They're like, we don't find that funny. Americans do that all the time. Dunzo. I went to the bathroom, came back 2 minutes later. She's making out with a random dude.
Yeah, bro.
What do Americans do all the time?
You missed out.
Like they make these Nazi jokes.
Yeah. You missed out on that sweet Nazi pussy. Okay.
But she was Australian. They weren't even in World War II.
No. She was German.
Visiting from Germany.
Yeah. Okay. It's a thing that you would hope that the Americans would embrace a little bit more, to just say like, yo, our history is really fucked up, and this is why things are the way they are now. Yeah. So in Germany, Americans will say, you're not going to take away my First Amendment right. But in Germany, they're like, this particular subject is so embarrassing, and we're so ashamed of it that we have to scold people who have this belief system.
These belief systems, yeah.
Because
there are still people in Germany that have those types of beliefs. You read about it, but the problem is in America, we don't have this kind of shame with our past. I think partially is, we have so many immigrants. There's so many people here that are brand new on a regular basis. And you talk to some kid that grew up in my, in my high school, my hometown on Long Island. What is he connected to? A lot of them are like, my family moved here in the 60s, the 70s. They're not here from.
I'd agree with that. But then the problem is that people who get here in the 60s, they're here for 10, 20 years. And all of a sudden they're like, yo, the black people are the problem. So they immediately adapt to the shit that already exists. And that all that stuff is very real. The history is there. The erased history of how persecuted black people are. Even I'm from the Dominican Republic, and it's another thing. Dominicans do not embrace how much they slaughtered Haitians, how much colorism exists as part of the community and society. Where we had a dictator, Trujillo, who literally genocide of Haitians. If you were too dark, you were looked as beneath, like high society, right. And that mentality still exists with Dominicans in DR, still to the ones that are here, to the point where Dominicans was trending on Twitter because a bunch of Dominican dudes in Washington Heights were kind of scolding black people about the protests or looting or whatever. And it's like, everybody's like, yo, y'all are black. We're black.
Yo, light-skinned Spanish people, drop the fuck out of you people. No, seriously. I just saw this light-skinned Spanish woman talking about how veganism, it's the same, to save animals. It's the same thing as saving black people. And I was like, this is spectacular. I've seen light-skinned Spanish women going off they're the new Karens. What's Spanish for Karen?
Just got in.
Got in?
Got in.
Got in.
You just say Karen with a slightly Spanish.
La Caranas. Yo, they are wild in the streets. I respect it. I respect that level of racism that's going on.
That video that was I didn't watch the video, but I saw some of it, and it's really wild how weirdly out of touch people are, and you go, you're doing this on purpose, just like those people who took the Instagram pictures with they were fixing stuff.
Oh yeah. The
Yeah.
influencer, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, they were taking like the fake photos, like them fixing shit, and you're like, oh, you're just like, okay, fine, you're doing that. You didn't know you're gonna get caught, but then you go, well, maybe they didn't want to know they were gonna get caught, and they wanted to be
Well,
like,
they shouldn't
hey,
be
look how
doing it to
fucked
begin
up.
with. It's just called practice. I mean, listen, and also to piggyback on what Christian said, America's got a sore loser mentality. Like, we never take the L with any sort of pride. Civil War, we just go, oh, you know, we won World War II, yet we're still harboring resentment towards the Japanese. Like, when are we going to let it go? It's just a lot of like baggage. It's honestly like dating someone crazy. Like, you're like, what is wrong with you?
Well, did you see Drew Brees? He just did some interview on Yahoo, and they were asking him, kind of about what's going on and how did you feel about Kaepernick, kneeling during the anthem, the whole thing. And he did the same thing. He was like, I got to respect the flag, and my grandfathers were in the military. And it's like, bro, nobody gives a shit about this flag. It's like, and that's what
Bro,
at
it's
least
so fucking annoying.
I hope he gets
The
cut.
level
really
of tone deaf people fucking are.
It's also
you're
like,
what
why?
are you thinking of?
Well, it's like, also, why is this flag so important when you have to compare it to the other things that black people are complaining about and arguing about and protesting about? It's like, you're like, oh, we're too many of us are being killed on the street by the authorities, by people who are there to protect us, and they're like, yo, but the flag, right?
You want to know why? You want to know why? It's very important because when their relatives die and they're all that they're given, and their relatives are in the military, all that they're given is that flag. That's it. And like when they are serving the military and they drape that flag over the casket, for them it justifies or values why they did all this. And they're like, well, he died for country, or they hand that folded up flag to the spouse, and it's like, well, thank you for your service. And it's like, listen, I get where that comes from, but it's also manipulative. That's really what it boils down to.
That's the purpose of every
you're
single
not allowed
flag.
to have this feeling, basically.
The purpose of every single flag in history, which is why during wars they had one guy who didn't even carry a fucking weapon. He just carried the flag so that everybody knew, yo, these are the symbolism. Symbolism seems to be so important to Americans, and they value it more than
anything else,
than human lives. Which is, and again, even the looting. Nobody's saying looting is okay, but it's still, if I have to choose between a store getting looted and a person getting killed by police, Louis Vuitton all day. I could give a shit.
Loot it up. Loot all day. Loot all night.
Have fun.
Looting definitely makes it right. I'm making stuff up. I'm rhyming. Come on. I mean, I just like, I'm not trying to be insensitive to the small business owners. You know what I mean? I know people's livelihood, but again, this is the thing, is like, it's annoying. I don't know what else to say other than it's annoying. You talk to somebody and they say exactly what Christian just said. They'll be like, I'm a protest, and this is so bothersome, is they go, protesting is okay, but that doesn't mean they have to loot. And it's like, protesting is okay? Like, who are you to be like, it's okay, you can this wouldn't have gotten to this point if you didn't have the apathy that you have towards the protesting. Protesting's okay. No, they should be like, people are very, this is like a big deal to a lot of people. And, it's not just like, okay. It's not just like, you know what, man, one day we'll probably do all right by the environment. Like, we should just do this for our kid. It's not like that. People
if there's one story you're happy that got
killing
looted
people now.
Yeah, they don't care. And that's really it. The protesting, they don't even think the protesting is okay, because they don't think there's even an issue. They don't even respect what people are protesting about. You'll have the same people that are like, protest. I mean, I've been to plenty Black Lives Matter protests when they're happening in New York. I was there regularly, and it's still, what are they complaining about? Cops kill white people too. Black on black crime. I
really thought, that like the all lives matter people, like, I was like, you have, I understand what you're saying, but you you feel attacked by a title of an organization instead of taking any time to just be like, yo, what's this like actual thing about? You know what I mean?
And when you hear like the constant stream of stories of you speak to any person of color, they have some nightmare scenario with police. It's all too common, and they don't believe it. They don't respect it. They don't think it's real, because it's one of those things that if it's not, if they don't experience it, they're like, how could it be? Like I have this conversation with my girlfriend often. Like she's white, so she'll see something on the news and she'll be like, are they allowed to do that? Is that legal? What is it? Like, it's like so mind blowing that the question isn't, that the question is, are they allowed to do that, rather than being like, yo, that's fucked up that they're doing that, because it's so unreal that this behavior. And my biggest hope is like that, seeing, it's gotten to this point, but the fact that white people are being so abused by the police, and we're seeing it now, and there's so much evidence of it. The
amount of all these things that you're seeing now that you never saw before, you're like, yo, people are getting fucked up.
Yeah.
These cops are just being like, you see where people are like not doing anything, and then the cop comes over and he's like, yo, I'm gonna just spray this person with pepper spray, and they're not doing anything, or I'm just gonna hit this person with a baton. And it's like, yo, they were chill. And the second you do that, you should be going to jail, because you didn't do your job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm pro looting. I don't give a shit.
That's an abuse of power.
I never liked Modell's anyway. Fuck that place. Macy's, too many floors. Take a couple of them down. All right? Level that place out a little bit.
Oh man, it's all frustrating and scary, and like I don't know if did you see that the LA police the LA like police commissioner?
I swear to God, I was waiting for that guy to look in the camera and be like, I'm available to be a consultant on a television show if anybody needs me. I honestly felt like he had that vibe for a second. Like he was professional, but also I was like.
But did you see the town hall thing that they did? They did like a Zoom town hall with the police commissioner, and people would call in, and they had either like 30 seconds or a minute to say what to the whole board, like obviously to council members of Los Angeles, and everybody went after the LA police commissioner. The one dude who ended it by saying he was like, suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you. You see this guy? Dude,
really?
This unbelievable. Everybody went in on this guy. They said like, they were peacefully protesting, and then the police showed up and started firing tear gas and rubber bullets and all this other shit. And it will take, it's not even about white people defending black people, but it's important that the message and so that people believe that the system is so widely corrupt when it comes to policing.
Yeah, you see these people getting like abused on camera, like
it's
evidence on a regular basis.
It's just so obvious, and it's like the George Floyd video. Really, what it did was not give people any more excuses to be like, well, what happened before? I don't have the context or whatever.
Every single person that ever gave me kind of like a gray area point of view or opinion on anything saw that video and was like, I gotta say that was pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I've seen former cops, current cops. They've all said, listen, it's a fucked up thing. And the thing is, my favorite thing is people going, well, he had underlying conditions. It's like, yeah, man, 9 minutes of a knee on your neck, that's not comfortable for anybody. Like, it just doesn't, So.
Yeah. And there is like I'm debating with like friends or family members.
We should be friend requesting everybody old. And then just sharing these videos. You know what I mean? Like if everybody dropped maybe 150 friends and then friend requested 150 people over 60 and then spent all day sharing these videos, that's how you end racism in America.
It's so crazy to me that there's still people that still rationalize kind of what's going on. Like I was
It's
seeing
crazy
posts about
I'm
like
on
people
Facebook with people from high school, and I grew up in Long Island, and the things that people are saying
Yeah.
are blowing my mind, and I am not dumb enough, no matter how bad it gets, to get sucked into a Facebook argument with people who are from Long Island from high school. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. Doesn't
There was
matter.
just did you see the video of the Black Lives Matter protest in Long Island? And then people were lined up the streets screaming, fuck you, you. And people are just saying, you know, Black Lives Matter. It's
Crazy.
It's,
It really blows my mind.
whatever.
People online are talking, people like, you know, I don't want to call out anyone specific, but like, you know, I just see people like posting shit and then saying stuff like, can't believe people I mean, this is probably one of the most tone deaf things I saw was people like talking about, more than one was talking about like, you know, how could you do, I miss after 9/11, the way we felt about all the people that ran in to save you. Those are some of the same people that you're having a problem with now. And you're like, do you not understand? Like, it's, and then look, this is the thing. There's a lot of good people that are getting sucked into this, and that's just that's the cost of doing business, baby.
I mean, aren't most of those people that
knee on someone's neck and you don't say something, guess what? So a good guy you work with across the country has to deal with some fucking girl throwing water in his face and calling him a cunt. Or
and
whatever,
also,
you know.
Most of those people that ran into the building on 9/11 are dead now. So realistically, what are we?
Okay.
What are we even? You know what I mean?
All right, Mister Never Forgets over
Well,
here.
I guess this won't be the clip I use.
I'm just saying they are, right? They all died. The disease.
Actually, what if I just did that and repeated that clip? I guess everyone's dead that was in 9/11. It's like, that's a clip. I'll put some music to it.
I'm not wrong. I mean, realistically, a lot of those people died of secondhand diseases as a result of 9/11 or whatever.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
They're not running anywhere. You think they're running in to save us now? No. They're just fighting to get medical care.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the thing to point out and highlight is that you know, honestly, yeah, people could be like, oh, there's some good cops or whatever, but I feel bad for police in general. You have that job.
Obviously, there's not all bad cops. There's a bunch of normal cops that aren't even working in situations where
like,
they would be.
They're doing what they're told. They're foot soldiers, following the rules, whatever, collecting their paycheck. But we know when it comes to, I mean, look, when things like this happen, we start realizing like, why is it so rotten? And it's because too many laws protect police, like that. They have that immunity thing. You can't sue a police officer for their behavior. And so imagine if there was any real risk
repercussion,
to your own life and livelihood and financially, it would affect how you approach every interaction that you have with the citizen. Mm-hmm. So it's things like that can be changed. And you know, police unions are it's not different. It's not too different from how the mafia was run or whatever. Like, you know, it's like you're essentially paying the cops for protection of the community, of your business and things like that. And police unions have so much influence towards, you know, who gets elected and all these other things that politicians have to kind of do what they say.
Right.
I mean, I'd rather
and they're pressured not to do certain things that are going to not be in the benefit of the police force.
I would say I'd rather go back to the days when they would give, like, if you ran a Chinese food spot and you gave the cop some free lo mein for lunch. This way he doesn't beat up your delivery guy. Like, it would just, I'd prefer that, to be honest. It's so fucking rough.
It'd be more crooked. I honestly thought, I'm like, you could just really not repeal any gun laws, which would be horrible because we have like a mass shooting every like 2 weeks or whatever it is. But like, maybe just take all the guns away from cops.
I totally think that should happen. It would change the approach. Their egos would be removed because they would have to de-escalate because they don't want anything terrible to happen.
I don't know how it works in London, but I was told that what happens is when you need guns, they call in the cops call the cops basically, and like a SWAT team shows up. And how often? I mean, you've seen cops. You've seen when you're a kid, you get in trouble and all that stuff. So how often is that a situation? You've seen 99% of situations I personally have seen cops in. I'm like, you don't need a gun for this. This guy's crazy. or this person's doing this thing, it's illegal. You can tackle them, you can hit them, you can tase them, you can pepper spray them.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, they're not gonna go away and get up. You know, if you pepper spray them in the eyes, maybe they will, and they get away. Then I guess, you know, the guy got away. He didn't die though.
Yeah,
you decide as a society you're cool with this dude getting away who's fucking shit up more than you are.
And it isn't like there isn't police brutality in countries that, you know, don't have guns, where the police don't have guns. That's not even necessarily the issue. But there's so much less. There's just so much less of it that it requires actual policing and actual police work. It's not just straight up.
I mean, this guy
I'm gonna bully you into
right. He
behaving.
put his knee on someone's neck, which is wild. And
also, everybody's the same color in those countries, so that's why it usually makes it easier.
I mean, no, but if we're talking about England, not everybody is not the same color.
Yeah, I know.
And they deal with a lot of shit too. Look, don't get me wrong, it helps. A nice little homogenous society.
Right, okay? They should realistically just make it no more white cops, and that might solve the problem.
Oh my God.
I thought about that, and I was like,
but it's not the case, because you'll see there'll be a corrupt light-skinned Latin cop, female cop in no time.
He put his neck on that guy. He put his knee on that guy's neck. The other two cops were Asian.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I'm seeing a ton of videos like,
well, Asians don't got strong knees. You never heard the rumor?
Yeah, there's a ton of non-white cops mixed in with these white cops, and they're right there next to them. They're not necessarily like the main, you know, stars of the show doing the things that are wrong, but they're there as well. You know, there's a video of a woman, and she punches a guy twice in the face, and you know, it's like a black cop punched her right in the face. I mean, after she punched this white cop like twice, and it's like, they're just cops. I mean,
they're bouncers, man. That's all they are. They're bouncers.
Right. They're not, I'm sure, you know, it's like at some point, I think I would assume, and you identify more with being that than anything else.
Yeah, of course.
You know, you're a soldier. You're a Marine. You think of yourself as a Marine before anything else.
What do you expect, though? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to snitch on the people you work with. You still got to work with them. Yeah. You know, that's what it comes down to. But
you're not allowed to. There's no space to rat on anybody.
Well, no, there is. There's the what's internal affairs, but like you can't go back to work on Monday when you snitched and cost the guy his job on Friday. You kidding me?
It's crazy. And then the guy just got to sit there with you like, okay. It's like when you see somebody and then, you know, they can't kill you or hit you or, you know, do anything, or like they're not supposed to verbally confront you about it, but like they get served. You have a civil lawsuit against them, and they're like, you're suing me?
Right. I once sat.
You're fired.
I sued me and this guy were suing each other for a car accident we were in. He was suing my insurance. I was suing his.
I'm not gonna lie. It sounds like a sex fantasy. Keep going.
I just imagine it's 69ing in a courtroom.
we each have gavels in each other's assholes.
Christian, I think you just invented a new type of porn, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. The defense rests. Well, don't worry about the prosecution. We're still hard at it.
The defense rests on your chin.
That's great. So then he comes into this has been like almost a year after the accident, and I'm in the waiting room before the deposition, and he walks in, and he doesn't even know. He's like sitting across from me. I remember him. I remember the guy, and he doesn't remember me at all. And he's looking at me weird, and I'm looking at him just smiling casually because I know who he is, but he doesn't know who I am. And then he goes, "Are you my lawyer?"
That's great. You're like, "No, I'm suing you."
And I look at him and I go, "No, we're suing each other."
That's great.
And he picked up his briefcase and walked in, all perfect. And I was like, "Huh?"
Amazing.
It is weird that the way the law works, isn't it? Because you go, I think I'm going to beat this guy up. He's suing me. Yeah. You can't do that, obviously. That's obviously not how the law works. But
I mean, how many times do you see...
I can socially hate this person.
How many times do you see a person, generally of color, jaywalking, and you're in your car, and you're like, this... And they're looking at you. And they're looking at you while they're jaywalking. And you're like, this motherfucker. Right? You guys never have that feeling?
What?
I don't know where you're going.
Jaywalkers? What's wrong with jaywalkers?
What does that have to do with him being a person of color?
Well, nothing. But like the point that I'm trying to make is this.
No, it's worse. Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you don't see them while you're in your car and they're jaywalking and it's your right away and you're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And they look at you because they know you can't hit them.
Oh, yeah.
That's my point.
I guess
All right.
I think I'm just a much calmer driver because it doesn't really bother me. Where do you got to be that it's worth running someone over? Okay?
I'm not saying I gotta be somewhere. I'm just saying that maybe
Yeah.
if they did that with a little sense of not being ridiculous. All right, I'm gonna go on hold. I just
What irks you more than anything else is their smile looking at you being like,
Yes.
you know they won. You don't
Right.
want a little,
But if their skin is
Puts them like
darker,
back a little
it is much worse. You do not appreciate it. That's what you're saying.
I'm not saying I. Yes and no. All right. You catch me on a Tuesday. If there's a white guy jaywalking, I'm still gonna feel the same way.
Okay.
All
well,
I'm
good.
saying is my car doesn't discriminate in terms of who it would hit. I
Okay.
might, but my car doesn't.
Mm.
So
All right. Won't
I
cross the
think
street in front
everyone,
of you.
that's probably one of the easiest ways to teach prejudice to people is just go, all right, how do you feel about people walking when you're in a car? Okay, how do you feel about people in cars when you're walking? It's like just like the easiest to be like, look how quickly you hate the other group.
Well, we
For no
should.
reason.
It's similar to like the doll test, you know, that we could give that to Kunal. The doll test is like
What's a
they
doll
have
test?
the white child, and then they put a white baby doll and a black baby doll, and they ask him which is the bad doll, and the kid will point to the black doll. So this is we could do something similar.
Is the black doll made by Mattel?
Well, we could do something similar with Kunal, but it'd be the run over test.
Who do you want to run over more?
I'm just running over both dolls, going in reverse.
He just hates babies.
No, I just like, yeah, man. I it's so crazy how easily you can like just what you're saying, like when you get sued, you know, and you're like, I want to do something bad to you, but I guess I won't. It's like, okay, so if you have a doctor, right? This is I read about this not that long ago. If you have a doctor and they do a procedure on you, you have to sign consent for them to operate on you. If they do something outside of that consent, it's technically assault and battery, right? And like, when I read that, I immediately thought of what's happening now, and I was like, yo, how is that any different than the cop? Like the second you're not actually breaking a law and he does something, he's broken the law. You feel me? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, how is that not like, doctors are held to those standards. Like, if it's a big deal, you can sue and win if that happens. Like, if you go to a hospital and you're supposed to get an appendectomy and this has happened. I read about this guy went to get his appendix out, but they ended up taking out his left testicle.
Jesus Christ.
And he sued him.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, you weren't supposed to do that. It doesn't matter what it was.
Right.
Happened to deal with the fact of him, being able to have kids. So I guess it was like worth a bunch more money. But it's like, that cop pepper spraying that lady on the floor with her hands up. It's just like, how is that guy not in trouble? It's so crazy he's not in trouble.
And but this is apparently I don't know, how we got to this point, but this is the system we all sort of agree on to some extent. Like, people are saying like, oh, their jobs are dangerous. They have to make quick decisions. They shouldn't be held to the same standard. And that is the having that level of immunity. All it really says is that it's too much power for a person, for an organization. There's no human being that could be responsible when that if you do something wrong, everyone will try to justify it, and even if it's something like murder. So it's like, you got to take the toy away from the kids when they're misbehaving. They are irresponsible with that level of power. They can't have that kind of level of immunity. And
look, if you want to take not a positive, but you want to take a side, part of the side of the police, like, they get pushed, and they get pushed on a regular basis. I was in the subway in New York, and this is the only thing I always think about, because when I was a kid, I always wanted to be John McClane because I watched the Die Hard movies. You know, I was that type of cop. I was like, all right, jump in a building, kill some Germans, Nakatomi Plaza, the whole thing, right? I thought it was so cool. I thought that because like every movie when I was growing up, I was with all those 80s action movies. That's all it was, like this badass cop that took down all the bad guys, right? So you watch that and you grow up and you go, oh, that's what it's like. But then I was in the subway and it's literally just this 95-degree day. And this guy is wearing his full uniform, right? He can't wear less. He's got a undershirt, shirt, the whole thing. 95 degrees in the subway. I'm like completely caked in sweat. I'm wearing like shorts and like a tank top. And this guy goes, excuse me, officer, is that a cross? And I goes, yeah, it's a cross. He goes, yo, yeah, God ain't real. This guy, I'm waiting for the train. And I'm not kidding, 20 minutes, this guy kept telling this guy God wasn't real. And I was like, yo, this is like crazy. Like, I don't know where he got the patience to do. Like, I would have walked away and been like, I'm not going to hit him. I'm not going to hurt him. But I don't got to sit here and listen to this guy. Like, I don't care if that means he wins. Like, this is just too annoying. It's 95 degrees. And this guy just keeps pointing at my cross and being like, that's not real. That's a lie. And you're like, all right, man. And he's just one of those crazy people.
As a comic, I would just be like, bro, rough set, huh? How'd that gig go? You know, rough day.
Yeah.
It's just look. It's just there has to be some sort of nuance and spectrum of like, once it gets to the point of murder, we ain't looking out for you. You're gonna have to explain yourself why you got here, but it doesn't mean that it's the same level of immunity as some, obviously, some altercation on the subway.
Right. Like all I'm saying is maybe it's too far for any human being on a regular basis to deal with. Like, look, I'm not trying to take the blame off anyone. I'm just saying maybe we take a step back and go, besides what we're talking about without the guns, you go, all right, man, like, I don't know, maybe you just give these people, you go, all right, once you get to this point, like this guy has said like whatever it is, like 10 things to you, you go, I got to walk away. I no longer am the guy that's going to be communicating with this dude. Some kind of thing where you go, there's only so much back like and forth you're allowed, because if this guy gets to me enough and then it escalates, then I'm gonna put my knee in his neck or whatever it is, I'm gonna go past that thing of like being somebody who's like in his right mind, acting like a normal human being.
It is a very, very difficult job. No one is really questioning that. I think the thing people do question is the level of just accountability. There's too many instances of like honestly, even if a cop is pulling a highway patrol officer, the way they even interact with the black people that they pull over versus the white people that they pull over is just so starkly different. It's just people. There's too many instances of just like we had just interviewed a player on our show who he signed with he moved to Ohio. He's from Jersey, went to Ohio. He's playing in Columbus, and gets just literally like 2-3 days ago gets pulled over twice on the same ride home. He gets pulled over because of all the protests and everything going on.
Really?
Yeah.
And pulled over because of all the protests?
Well, because of it's in the middle of all this stuff, so people like are just it's just generally tense. So he gets pulled over, and the cop tells him, "I pulled you over." Basically, he just said like, "You look like you have warrants." So it's like,
wow.
When you say that to a black dude and you're a cop, how do you think the next interaction with police is gonna be like? It's just like, oh shit, I just moved here. This is what I'm experiencing. I guess this is how it is. This is how the cops are.
Look like you have warrants.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that. Like they would never say that to a white person.
No,
and the police use minorities as, we know that there's quotas and they have to do this and they have to arrest a certain amount of people and they have to give a certain amount of tickets, and they use minorities to they essentially that's where they get their money from.
I would pay higher taxes just to not have cops write tickets, to be honest. If they raise taxes across the board and cops are no longer ticket machines for like parking or driving or even like bullshit charges like urinating in public, which I've gotten several of, I think that it's ridiculous. What? I like to pee outside.
I love when you say something and then you just throw in your political belief right at the end. Like, for urinating in public, which I think is bullshit.
Yeah. I got I will
Really
say this
serious,
though about
like a good conversation. You go, and then peeing in public, man, which by the way, while we're on this whole Black Lives Matter thing, I should be able to.
what, you're telling me people can't talk about their student loans? I can't talk about urinating in public? It's the same fucking thing, all right?
You're right.
I got pulled over from doing like a college gig with another comic, a black comic. And every time I get pulled over, the first thing that I do is I pull out these PBA cards that I have, where basically it says that police officers, you're like friends with, or you have a good relationship with. I always pull out those cards, even if they're expired. I'll pull them out. I don't give a shit because I just don't want the hassle. Because that whole tone and attitude changes. I got me and this other comic, Gordon Baker Bone. We come back from doing a college gig. I'm driving. And they pull us over. I immediately pull out the PBA cards. And then all of a sudden the attitude relaxes, you know? And the guy goes, do you know why I pulled you over? And I was like, oh, shit. And the guy goes, you were driving too slow. And I was like, he's like, are you high? And I was like, no. And he was like, so why are you driving this way? And I go, I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable driving fast. And he looked at me.
Like, I don't live in a,
and he gave me my card back and my stuff. And he's like, yeah, just drive a little faster. And I turned to Gordon Baker Bowe and I go, you tell anybody about this story. I'll just tell these cops you have weed on them.
Yeah, look, man, if they see a brown person driving, they're like, yo, there's a good chance I could ticket this person and that I'll bring in money for the city. And when you think about why do we need police in general? And it's really to protect the economy, right? We want a flow of money. Yeah, we want a flow of money. We want commerce. We want people to be able to spend money and work and none of that be interrupted. But the priority is not the safety of human beings. It's to continue to protect that
money.
To protect money.
Yeah.
That's
why it's so funny. I keep seeing the same point being made and which is bothering me too. I see people being annoyed at the looters, and it's like, why do you care about this store somewhere else? It's because on some level you don't like these people fighting for the thing that they're fighting for. On some level, there's an apathy. There's some part of you, because you can't come out and be like, not the saying that you're racist, or maybe they don't even know they're racist. Maybe they haven't looked and been like, maybe that's where these feelings are coming from. But to be like, what are they doing over there? I'm like, what the fuck do you care? What's happening in a Target across the country?
Yeah, because when you see, there is a difference between people, when they prioritize the looting over why the protests are happening. That really, it's that dog whistle, and we know what they're saying. We know how they feel in their heart. But there are.
Why can't these people just stop it?
Yeah,
and be quiet. We don't want to hear from you.
But there are people. But when black people talk about the looting and they say like, hey, they tell their own community, hey, we need to stop doing this. We understand the anger. We know why, but it's not helping, right? And and that is it's weirdly like sort of wrong too, right? Because the looting is really helping in this. It
really is.
People are listening because people are looting.
I said it before. It's the price of doing business. That's part of it. It's like, yes, there's protests, but then when people don't listen, this is also what happens. And people are like, well, what's the point? I go, the entire country is fucking forced to pay attention to this now, whereas the other times they wouldn't. Or they would ignore, to be able to ignore it or pay attention to coronavirus or whatever that is going on. And it's like, well, yeah, now you have to confront
the world is. Did you see the riots in fucking Paris?
Yeah.
Even for the French are like, bro, it's really bad out there in America. They feel bad. They feel bad for us.
I can't believe other countries are getting involved. Like, what do you even care? It's amazing.
There was in Germany. There was they were outside the embassy screaming Black Lives Matter. Like,
it's beautiful, man. It's really beautiful seeing people in other, like, I get in America, of course, but like watching people in other countries, it's like, that's kind of dope, man.
And they look up to us. The U.S. is the most powerful country in the world, and it is a symbol for a lot of people because of the idea of America is so new and sort of unheard of throughout history because of how multicultural it is, how many different types of people live here, different languages, different cultures, and the problem America has is you can't have the build the wall and all that stuff, because that isn't what America is, or that isn't what America is becoming. It is very much let people in here. Let's figure out how to run a different version of what human history has given us, which is just like either the same religion, same race, and everything. It's a different experiment.
That helps a lot when you have one big one. When you have like 70 or 60% is like, it's like when you go to Texas and you hear a commercial, it says, they'll mention when you're in church tomorrow, that sometimes will be part of the commercial. And you're like, what? Especially from your New York, you're like, huh?
Yeah, well, it's
even God.
It's difficult. What we're trying to do here is so wildly challenging, and we need people that are courageous enough to actually go forward with that idea of what America could look like if we all, what if we, if like in European countries, the countries themselves speak different languages and they're right next to each other. Almost everyone in Europe speaks more than one language. They had to. And just by learning another language, they get to learn about the culture of another society and to build a new level of empathy, of just like understanding. Even if you understand one other culture, you have a different worldview than if it's just America, hot dogs, and flags and all that.
Well, not
nonsense.
for nothing though. Everybody cries the same.
Shut up.
God damn it, Kunal.
I'm gonna tell you this though. I gotta say this
is heartfelt.
I'm not saying. Listen, obviously, I get it. I agree. Impressively, do I agree? I agree with all of this stuff. But I'll say this. Listen, there's not much time left with this going down. Between the pandemic, between these protests, they've charged these cops, which is great. Realistically, the only thing, this is what's going to happen. These are the next few steps, because the government has hemorrhaged so much money between the pandemic and the protests. You can't keep paying cops forever. And that's why, and this is how I know they're running out of money, because they're resorting to using fringe groups of security and police, because they cost less. When you bring in the military, that's a lot of money right there. This is the same organization that charges the government $700 for a toilet seat. Okay, don't forget that. This always comes back down to money. So this is what's going to happen in the next few weeks. They charged these cops. They did that. However, if the government is smart, if anyone who's listened through all of this that we've talked for the past hour and 7 and gets to this point, because this is the important part, if the government is smart, they'll sentence those people to a long time in jail. Because if they sentence them to another bullshit amount where they go, you know what, they're doing 2 months in jail, they've lost their job, they'll never be cops again. If they do that again, these protests they will not be protests anymore. They will not be vigils. They will be riots.
Yeah, it's 50 states, man. There's a protest, and there's no way these cops are doing 2 months, man. I think that they're going to go to jail for. And again, what you're saying, I agree with.
This is the difference.
I think a realistic time frame that's too short would be like a year.
Yeah, they need to be charged something similar
to those other 3. I mean, the guy who got charged with manslaughter, who had his knee on his neck, that dude's probably going away for a long, long time.
Listen, this is the thing, though. How many times you can take every case of every person of color that's been shot in America, and unjustly so. It's always the same thing. We march, we protest, we donate. Then all of a sudden it comes out they've been charged. The officer's been charged. The protests, the riots, not the riots, the protests, the vigils stop. They level off. And then 6-7 months later, what are we told? Oh, the cop has been fired. They've been charged a month. He'll never be a police officer again. And then maybe a couple things spark up. But I'm telling you right now, no, we do not need to be vigilant for this kind of shit. We need to be vigilant. We need to be like, listen, that's it. You can't sit here and charge a cop a month in jail. Or this shit should be burned down to the ground.
That trial, I don't know if it goes to trial, it will be.
That shit's gonna be watched more than OJ.
It is gonna be one of the biggest trials in the world.
I don't think it's gonna go to trial, man. It's gonna. because it would be so big that it would be crazy if it went to trial. I mean, it'd be like way bigger than what OJ.
Well, he's
not
going to
gonna-
plead guilty. He's going to have to plead guilty because he knows that if he goes to court, this is going to be a madhouse.
Yeah,
and that's
has
why he's going to
all
plead down. It's less people are involved when they go to court, and even the officer knows that.
And like, for example, like that was a big case, right? When we talk about OJ, but like that was something that like had a lot of sensationalism. There was the chase, the gloves, the knife, there's a lot of sensationalism with that story. This is like the video, the guy's got his hands in his pockets. It's just like I haven't heard one person even, and I've been surprised because I'm like, yo, I pretty much know this person is not a good person. I would think he'd, take the cop's side. And even people that like, you go, this guy's racist, right? And then they're like, nah, this is fucked up. You're like, I didn't expect you to say that, man.
Well, just seeing all the corporations and brands and posting the black square, showing solidarity, the whole thing. It is, a lot of times people complain about. They complain when athletes talk about anything political, or when they talk about police brutality. People are like, stick to sports. Yeah. And it's like we're seeing how, especially in our generation and social media and the level of influence that we all have on our own culture,
right, with everyone else, right?
It is we've created, and it's good and bad, right? Because you also create the cancel culture and like mute this person and whatever.
You also have.
But
people,
the good is
like,
also.
I want to hear this.
Yeah, it forces one people to be accountable, and for the shit that they post, the shit that they say. You can't, and we also have the receipts of you people are like San Francisco 49ers. I stand with the whole, like, what the fuck are you talking about when you just shit on Kaepernick? And weren't the organization was not supporting him during
the 49ers are with the Black Lives Matter movement, but
yes,
they were not with Kaepernick.
Well, yeah, they weren't. I support the NFL in general. The NFL put out a statement against police brutality and the whole thing. And it's just
the thing, man. People aren't willing to have this gray area, I guess, is really some of it. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like you look at that and you go, okay, so this organization is getting on the right side of this, but some people would argue, they'd be like, whether or not it's right or wrong, they don't think that should be happening during that part of that thing. So they think that should exist, that protesting should exist outside.
Because they don't want to see. They don't want to see it. Real
That's
cute.
What it comes back to, though. Yeah,
real cute. I see what you're doing. Not during
my thing, though.
Because you know what, your protest makes me sad about American history and how we got here and all the privileges that are afforded to me. So don't do that, because my white guilt, it makes me uncomfortable. That's really all they're saying. So when you have all these businesses kind of hopping on board, it's because they're protecting their financial interest. They don't want to fuck up the bag. And there's too many people publicly on this train of like, did you see this video? How are you going to be anti-Kaepernick when we saw the video and it makes me too uncomfortable to even ignore?
Right. Yeah. I was so crazy. Every single one of these companies is so, because like you grew up in the 90s, right? Like you just always go, these people are full of shit, Like you just kind of see that with people. Everyone's really into like believing in things now, and it's like, all right, like I get like Black Lives Matter is great, but like if it wasn't, you would have some racist shit out of Nike like tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like it's all bullshit. Like it's nice and it's good that they're doing it, but like if oppressing women was popular, you know what I mean? Huffington Post would have like an article like why your boyfriend's right. Like literally immediately. I'm talking about, did you see like how quickly like within all these startups and like online organizations having like these progressive like articles, like those like what would you call it? Like HuffPo and like Salon and all that stuff. Reductress, whatever it was. And then like Vice just completely shifted and went like, did a 180 on like everything that they believed in. And then people, they'll like criticizing them, like, didn't you fucking make the opposite videos like 10 years ago? What are you doing?
That's what you're supposed to do, man. If you're a conservative comic, you start using liberal viewpoints as a way to, ruffle some feathers. It's the same thing with being a comic who's primarily Democratic. You use conservative viewpoints to ruffle people's feathers, and that's really, comedy's easy. So it's not that difficult.
No, man, look, at the very least, I think
comedy's easy.
Done.
I like that it's it's similar to like what we were talking about with Germany. It's when you say these things out loud, when you're publicly against what people are fighting for, and when there's all this overwhelming evidence of police brutality, you look more and more ridiculous. And this is what the fact that went from a capitalist level, right, and how capitalism affects culture, and when every single NBA team, NFL team had to post something. Otherwise they would have been shamed, and financially it would have hurt them. So they're like, we can't even be on the side of we have our conservative fans, we can't piss them off. There's so many people so upset about this stuff that they're like,
this is such an
we gotta hop on, because the money is
real obvious that you're racist if you don't hop on this. Like, it's not really a complicated issue.
I gotta say this though, there was a guy from Long Island, guy I used to work with, and he used to have some very right-sided points. Like, they were hard in the right, not agreeing with Kaepernick, none of that. It's weird, but he's changed his tune,
Really?
Yeah, man. It was like,
I've never heard that before.
I know, like,
Long Island changed his tune. Do you know what kind of hope this gives me?
That's what I wanted to tell you this. Like, this is a guy I worked with for I worked with him like maybe 4 or 5 years. And then even when I was younger, when I was like my teen years, because I worked with this company for a long time, on and off. And then I haven't spoken to him in almost a year. And then I called him up, we kind of lost touch, and he got a little annoyed with me about it because I just kind of up and quit. And then we just started chatting, and he's like, I just don't, I see what's happening in the news, and it's like so frustrating that the people are getting treated this way. And I was like blindsided. Yeah. Like, we're talking a guy in just down the block from where you saw people chanting White Lives Matter in Long Island. We're talking I know where that place is. We're talking half a mile down the road, not even. And this is a guy who's changed his tune. And it just says that, man, I still believe, I still have hope,
Yeah, there was a great, do you know?
Except for people of color who jaywalk. Those people, they're the most hopeless.
We don't need those animals.
We don't need, they need to go now!
Whoa, no one said they were animals. I don't know if you've seen, but there's a woman.
Whoa, Polanco, whoa.
People
sorry.
Animals deserve to be treated.
That might be the white side of your Dominican coming out right there.
No, I saw this post. There's a guy, Ben Milam. I think he did stand up years ago. I don't remember. I maybe met him at open mic, but I saw him on Facebook. We're still friends, and he posted this great. I think he does like science. Something. I think he's like a scientist or something. I don't remember, but he posted this thing about how he's a white dude, and was mentioning how white people, like the discourse and how people talk about like bad things or police brutality or whatever. And he says like white people speak about it in a prescriptive way, where they say like, this is how you fix it. This is what you should do. And they mention the systems that are in place. Like, they're like, why don't you go vote for someone that will change these things? And black people speak in a way that's descriptive, and they say like how things are, and they say that we're getting beat up, we're being mistreated by police, and all these things. So black people are not usually saying like how to fix it, and that's kind of the approach. And this is why we can't like. We can't see eye to eye, because white people, they say like the way to fix, you have this problem. The way to fix it is to use the system that only works for me. Use this thing that I use, and black people are like, yo, the system that works for you doesn't work for us. And that's where the disconnect is, because
there's no speaking to each other on each other's terms as far as you go, you're not acknowledging what I said.
Yeah.
And trying to get you to understand that is where the conversation needs to start, not just glossed over like, well, that doesn't work for me. And then you keep talking at each other.
Yeah.
It just got to be the whole time. Maybe it doesn't work for me.
So you're saying that guy in your econ class had a point?
No, man, the fact that there is
Comedy is so easy.
It will
Comedy's so easy.
require it will require white people saying that the system that works for me does not work for everyone else, and that's difficult to admit.
Yeah.
But that is the only way things will progress. Right. And look, and that's what I'm hoping happens after all of this. Is
hey,
that
if I could see it happen for a guy who has had the same tune for 15 years, you know, maybe I think it can happen.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
And, you know, it's fun having this conversation, joking around with each other. But I mean, for God's sakes, how many times, and this is going to be completely against everything I just said, I guess, but how many times you go to a party and you hang out and then someone brings up heavy stuff like this and you go, all right, and they're not a comic, and you go, are we going to just talk now? Like I don't really know you. And I go, yeah, that's really bad. That sucks, you know? And then they keep going, and you go, oh, yeah, that's really bad. And then they're like 40 minutes into the conversation, and you're like, I don't know, man. You know, me and you aren't going to get at the bottom of it near the guacamole, I don't think, tonight. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But
also, where the fuck are the hot dogs? We're in America.
I don't know what's happening tonight. What's happening right now is great. What's happening with the whole country. I mean, people are pretty upset at the looting, but it's kind of like too bad, man. Like that. It's funny though, because like I have people that own businesses and they're like upset, but I'm like, it's such a weird kind of inside feeling where you're like, oh man, I feel really like empathy and sad for my friend, you know, like my friend has a business and he's like a good person and didn't do anything and his business is fucked up. But then like part of me is like, well, I guess like maybe like it'll just be like he'll be like okay and insurance will just cover it, or if not, then like if you can't fix your windows, maybe you shouldn't be in business in the first place. Maybe it wasn't profitable enough of an enterprise.
Yeah, like I think that feeling it should be a nuanced, feel. Like it's, of course, you feel bad for businesses that are destroyed. Like you don't want.
But I didn't feel bad for any businesses. I said let it fucking burn.
Well, listen, when the fish swim, the water moves, and that's what we need to accept.
Yo, Kunal does this thing where he says deep things and they're fake.
Yo.
Comedy is so easy. I really don't know why. I don't know why. I never thought this was hard.
But he used to do this shit to me all the time. It was so funny because I was like, it kind of sounds deep when he says it, but you just realize you're like, this motherfucker is just.
There was a dude in LA, I forgot his name, but he owns like a sneaker store, like a clothing store in like on Melrose or whatever, and people were tweeting at him. They're like, "Yo, people are getting really close to your store. I think something's gonna happen," and he just replied with like, "Hey man, it's just those are just things." With this kind of a bigger thing going on right now.
Yeah. Also, he's on Melrose. He's fine.
Exactly. That helps too.
Right.
But there are people that are incredibly wealthy that were very furious at people looting and stuff like that. So I think
they destroyed the Mercedes dealership. Where am I gonna get my new lease?
Yo, I'm gonna tell you right now. Burn down all the sweet leaves.
I made a joke. I forgot what the joke was about, but somebody tweeted at me like, they're looting the Mercedes and BMW dealerships, and it's like, oh, won't anyone think about the Beamers? You know, like who gives a shit? Like what level? Where are you in your life that the concern over BMWs is just anywhere nearly.
How is that even something you say to somebody that you're upset about?
Like, I shouldn't have followers that follow me on Twitter that are concerned about Mercedes or BMWs. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it's like if it's like if an orphanage was burning down and you were worried about the plastic toys destroying the environment. You're like, what? are you like, and this is fine to say, I think, are you like retarded? Like, what's going on?
I'm fine with the plastic toys burning. I'm fine with the orphanage burning.
Yeah. Did you inject one of them Bill Gates vaccines? What's going on with you?
Yeah, you seem like you have a very hard time getting along with people right now. It seems like you got a lot of problems. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happens after this. I think they're going to change some legislation. I did that that thing with the police law that like helps hide previous like bad things cops have done, the 502. Right. And that's the only legislation I saw at the moment that was like right there, you know. And I saw Cuomo, the governor of New York, Mr. Sausage Fingers. And how crazy is it that the president of he's got thick hands, you know, he's kind of jacked. Both him and his brother are just like secretly like gym guys.
They're meaty guys.
They're meaty men. And how crazy that Trump called him Fredo. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. I was like, I mean, and again, it's so many things he does is kind of funny. And then it's mixed with this like sociopath evil guy.
It's funny, but it's not like it shouldn't come from that high up. You know what I mean?
Like it is funny. Like he had this thing with the senator and he called him Mr. Magoo.
Yeah, but
it's like you're the president. He called a grown 70-year-old man Mr. Magoo. And
I get it. I get it, but it's kind of like it's the equivalent of like you and I throwing these kinds of barbs at each other. It's like a snowball fight, you know? But when he does these kinds of things, then
it's on a level where you're like, you shouldn't be having this conversation. But then on top of that, you go, oh, well, not on top of that, but just like that's funny. And then it's weird because it's like this backdrop of like, man, this guy's crazy. It's entertaining.
Yeah, but then it rolls down a hill and becomes much greater, and people
he tear gasses a crowd so he can go in front of a church.
Right.
Yeah.
As much as anything.
As much as people, may not agree, what the president of the United States says matters. Every single word he says matters, and it has some effect on some people. Like the fact that you can have people have seen Barack Obama and give beautiful speeches and inspire people. And
that's all I was thinking. I'm like, how would have Obama gotten to the church? I'm serious. I kept thinking that, and I was like, he would have been like, hey guys, I'm not gonna make you move, but I'm gonna ask you if you wouldn't mind. Would you mind getting out of the way?
He wouldn't even do it. He wouldn't even do that to begin with. The only reason Trump went to the fucking church was because everybody was reporting that he went to the bunker.
You're 100% right. He went to the church. There's no reason to go to church.
He walked out of the front door of the White House, which hasn't been done by a president in fucking decades, probably. He walked out the front door, which is so strange that he's not leaving off some helipad or some other secret egg. He's like, nah, bunker what? No, I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna show and show my authority. I'm gonna clear out the way. Yeah. I'm gonna walk out the front door, walk across the street to some church that nobody wants me to be at, hold the Bible for nothing. For a stupid video.
That day though, I have to say the day before that day, when like that was like the beginning of people protesting in front of the White House, like a lot, and it got a little bit dicey. I was like 100%. I was like, yo, we're gonna see someone get sniped.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna see, because I was like, they seem like they're not far from the White House, because the camera pans over, and then you go, oh, they got like all the snipers everywhere. The second fucking someone takes, and then just bop, they're gonna drop. And it was like, you're gonna see that on fucking TV. It's gonna be crazy.
And they're raising. Trump is building a fence in the front and on the White House lawn. He's building it higher. They're extending it to, because it's currently like, I think 8 feet or 7 feet, something like that. Which is like, back when the White House was built, people were smaller, so a 7-foot fence was like gigantic. But now,
back when the White House was built, people were smaller. You're right.
They were. Yeah.
They were.
They were small.
They were like 5'5".
I haven't been to the White House, but I've heard it's pretty small. All the rooms are fairly small. The ceilings are fairly low.
Yeah, no, I went to there last year. Yeah, it's small.
Yeah. They didn't.
You went for dinner there last year?
Yeah, I went for no. I just went in that vicinity. Are you checking yourself out in the camera?
No, I'm sorry. My hair is super long and it's annoying.
Yeah. I feel like you've been like priming and propping yourself the whole time.
My hair's nuts. Let me show you.
Yo, you should see this guy. This guy looks like ridiculous.
That's
Bro.
great, Christian. But you got your hair to keep. Your hat to keep it in place. Like
Yeah.
this thing is just fucking annoying me constantly. I just gotta keep touching it.
Christian looks like Lucy's husband in I Love Lucy.
My hair's going up. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, you could. That's easier though, right? You could do like a 12 clip just on the sides.
You know what? I didn't even know a 12 clip existed. That's how long my hair. I've never had my hair this long. In my
Also, ethnically, he's not allowed to touch his own hair.
life. So.
Yeah, I went to a Dominican barbershop once.
Yeah, my barber Randy, he's like, I saw you look horrible with that cut you gave yourself, and I was like, that's not necessary.
Yeah, I was bleeding
right.
everywhere. It wasn't great. The guy's like, "You're pretty sensitive." I was like, "Yeah." And my girlfriend was there, and I was like, "I'm not gonna like complain." You know, I could feel them be like, "Oh yeah, if you get cut, like just fucking man up and deal with it." Like I was like, "Oh, this is why I go to a salon." Little French, you know, cut the back, like, give me a little length, you know, not give me a hard time if I start crying.